Hello everyone and welcome to Northgard. This is an awesome game that I've been playing for quite some time in early access and it just came out recently. It's $30 and I definitely recommend it. It's an indie title made by Shiro Games. Essentially the basic premise is it's an RTS title where you're going to be one of a multitude of Viking clans vying for control of a newly discovered land called Northgard. So like I said, it's RTS, so basically you're going to have different tiles where you're going to focus on building structures, collecting resources, doing technology, and eventually clashing and vying for supremacy of the land. There's a couple different ways to do that. You can do it through single player, which is essentially you against AI and NPCs. There's multiplayer, which you can field yourself against, a variety of players and also NPCs. And then finally, there's a campaign that they recently added as of the game's official release. So what I'll be doing in this video is kind of just walking you through the campaign here. I did play the first level, making me, move into Northgard itself. But for your sake, let's go ahead and replay the first chapter. That way we can put on the training wheels and just kind of walk you through the basic premise of the game.
I am Rig, son of the High King Hargurorf, and this is my saga. It all began one fateful day. My father had gathered all his jarls to make an announcement of the utmost importance. We were to embark for the wondrous lands of Northgard. Riches, conquest, and glory awaited us on this mysterious new continent. But the Norns had other plans for us. Dozens of armed men suddenly poured into the hall and put an abrupt end to our ambitions and to our lives. They were mercenaries, led by a man named Hagen from the clan of the Raven. In a matter of minutes, we were all slaughtered like sheep. All but me, barely conscious and vastly outnumbered. I had no way to fight back, so I feigned death. I seethed as he stole the map of Northgard and ripped the regal horn from my father's throne, a family heirloom and the very symbol of our royalty. I had to avenge my father and reclaim my kinghood. I had no strength left when I encountered a group of runaways of the Stag clan, led by a proud young man named Bran. Hagen's men had set his town aflame, and he had nothing left, not even his father, the clan's jarl, who had died at the hands of the fiend, just like mine. Our common enemy had sailed for Northgard, over which he now had a map. All I could think about was finding him to avenge my father and retrieve the regal horn.
Alright, here we go. We're descending on, well, not quite Northgard yet. The whole point of this mission is going to be to try and make our way to Northgard. So we'll see the characters talking to one another here, basically just saying, time is of the essence, we have to prepare and get ready to get going. I'll just click through this because it's just some, typical back and forth banter. Doesn't tell you too much. It's basically the mission trying to give you your objectives. So yeah, here we are. So you can see the various characters. Each is individually selectable. So here I have my clan leader, who's going to act as a fighter in the early game, and the rest of these guys are going to be just basic villagers. So yeah, they're going to go about their tasks. So for now, they're just going to be collecting food. As you can see here, this is why, if I look at the food, it's plus 10. But then there's a variety of other resources as well. So wood is going to be another one. Crowns, which are essentially your coin. There's population, and then there's happiness. There's additional ones that are included in the game. But for the time being, they aren't in the tutorial, basically. So I'm going to show you construction. Well, as you saw, you just go to build, and then you can click on these structures. Each has an associated cost. And then the whole thing about Northgard that I really like is the fact that so much of it is automated. So relatively micro lax, I would say. So you saw I built a structure. Within this area, it can be built just about anywhere. And then villagers will automatically go ahead and build them, whoever's nearest to it. The thing after that is, well, after it's built, people go back to doing what they want to do. Some structures, for instance the scout camp, will allow you to give villagers different roles, and all you have to do is click on them, right click, and they'll do that role. So the main one is going to be the scout. This is an important early game unit because you'll notice, well, I have this territory, but it can only fit up to 5 structures. So what I want to do is start to explore these areas and break into them. So that's what the scout is good for doing. They'll go ahead and explore these various territories. But I can't, you'll notice, I can't move into them just yet. The only one who can cross territories is your fighters. And when they do that, they'll move into the territory. But it's not going to give you control. What they can do is fight anyone who's in there, but you won't get control. The only way to get control is going to be to colonize that area. So first you explore, and then after that you colonize. So first it's going to cost me 20, and if I want to colonize the next one, it's going to be 40, and on. It's going to be more and more expensive. So this is me colonizing the area. So why do I want to colonize? Well, one thing that's forcing me to colonize is I have a building cap, so I'm going to want to expand in order to have more total building slots. So now I've expanded into this area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a woodcutter's lodge that's going to allow me to start to produce some wood. And the reason I built it here instead of here is you'll notice on the mini-map there is a forest icon, and if I click on this territory, this tile has a forest bonus. That means that any wood production in this area has 10%. So I could, for instance, build a woodcutter's lodge here once I colonize it, or at home. But you want to be very careful. Oh, sorry. I have to assign a villager to that. But yeah, you want to be careful with where you build your structures, because structures, 1, are going to be taking up slots. And then 2, the more structures you build, the more they're going to actually eat up your money. So essentially what you want to do is just create structures in the most efficient location. And that usually is going to be having it coincide with natural bonuses, etc. So let's go ahead and colonize this area, and once we have the woodcutter's lodge, go ahead and set a guy in here, have both of these guys woodcutting, and essentially once they're told to do their task, they'll start cutting wood. So okay, I have that going. The next thing in my agenda is going to be to start to build this field. So a prerequisite for the field was going to be to have the woodcutter's lodge. So now that I have that, I can build it, and we'll go ahead and dump some people in that territory. Another thing you'll notice is, and this is pretty important that I didn't quite realize at first, but as people are collecting these resources, the animation here, don't be distracted by it. So in a typical RTS game, you only get food when they collect them, they drop it off at the depot, and then it would seem here, hey, this person's, why are they walking so far? That's a waste of time. No, it doesn't matter. All these animations are just kind of covering the fact that as long as a villager is in this area and is applied the villager role, they're going to be producing food. It doesn't matter if they're walking, it doesn't matter if they haven't dropped off the food, they're still going to be producing resources. So again, I think that's a nice little feature that streamlines everything, and it means that, if I want to reassign someone a different role, I don't have to wait till they make it home. I can go ahead and just give them that role. So for instance, this guy here, whatever, let's just go ahead and send him into that territory, and I won't have done anything inefficient in that sense. Now that I have my farm, take a look at the food. Yep, it's definitely going up. So that's going to be a bonus. Speaking of bonuses, the next thing I'm going to want to do... Where did my scout go? Okay, it's going to go a little quicker. But the next thing I'm going to want to do is going to be to stack some bonuses. So I just got enough for a food silo. So what I can do is I can build this in a particular territory, and it'll increase food production by 10%. Let's do that here. And let's send this lady to build it. So yeah, the reason I'm going to do that is, again, all about efficiency in this game. I know I'm going to be producing a lot of food here because of my farms. Well, if I have a silo, then the farms are not only producing more food in and of themselves, but also this field is going to supersize them. And what I might also want to do is, let's say, for instance, these guys here are producing food in this area. I want them to benefit from this structure, the amount that I've invested here. So what I want them to do is to be collecting food in here. So I can go ahead and do that. Once the food silo is done, I believe I can just put them in here and they'll just start collecting food. So there you go. I think they'll be collecting food. I can't remember if I need a house or not. But anyways, the next thing I'm going to be doing is building a house in this area, just so that I deal with my population. So we're starting to get close. Let's keep exploring. And let's move my my chief over to the border here, just because these wolves may, at certain times, decide to attack. So okay, we got all that going. As long as population is, or happiness is up, my this town hall will continue to just chug out villagers. Let's go ahead and put them there so we can get that same buff. And it looks like we now have enough resources to build a house. Let's build a house there. And yeah, this is basically how your resource collection is going to go. What I can do here is I can show you a little bit of combat. So there are wolves prowling these areas. The second I cross into enemy territory, well, these wolves are going to get triggered and they're going to come in and attack me. Combat is pretty straightforward, no combat animations, what you'd expect from basically any standard RTS. It's very much, you know, what Age of Empires did way back in the day. So yeah, I'm going to be taking damage, and this will decrease production. So one of the troubles is when, you know, there's wolves here, and if they come and attack your territories and they damage a lot of your villagers, well, one, they could kill them, which is unfortunate, but the other thing as well is that their production could go down, and that's going to hurt you in the long run. So that's why you want to kill off these guys. And if production of my leader here goes down, it doesn't really matter so much because, well, he's not producing anything. Let's go ahead and seize this territory here. We do have a fair amount of food. And essentially another thing in Northgard as well is going to be this calendar that goes on. And what I love about this is you go through different seasons. Traditional RTSs you don't. But what you have in here is you can start to see a couple snowflakes dropping, and that means we're approaching winter. So what essentially that means is in the winter, things are going to change. And it's going to have different buffs and debuffs. Well, mostly debuffs actually in the winter. So essentially what happens is food production is going to decrease in the winter. So this is very much akin to what we talked about in the Surviving Winter podcast episode with James on the main channel, is while the Vikings during their summer would focus on food production and stockpile it as much as possible, but in the winter, you know, it's hard to produce crops and food production is going to be down. So you're going to want to get food either from your stockpile or different ways. So that's why I'm building a Hunter's Lodge. The Hunter's Lodge here has the benefit that it doesn't really suffer from that winter attrition because, well, you're hunting game that already exists. The air is getting cold, winter is approaching. So yeah, as I was saying, back to this territory, I'm gonna have 2 people assigned as a hunter, and then now that they're hunters, they're gonna do their, you know, animation, but they're already producing food. So yeah, that's what happens. And as winter approaches, we'll see the buffs change a little bit. So now we're plus 18 and plus 8. So keep an eye on that as we get into winter. We'll see how that changes. And in the meantime, I'll continue my expansion. So it looks like this particular tutorial is giving me the option to colonize, I should say, these areas. And then when I do so, I can start to claim these various places, and they'll give me some resources. So, cool, we're expanding, and what else do I want? Let's go ahead and build a healer's lodge. Don't necessarily really need it. If this were like a competitive game, I probably wouldn't build that lodge, but you know, we're coasting pretty easily. I just want to show you the various structures that are available to us. So here we go, winter. So already we've dropped to +3 and +3 on both sides. So you can see how I've gotten some hurt. And let's go ahead and reassign those farmers. Oh, it looks like my scout has actually reported a big beach here. And this is suitable terrain for where I'm going to want to go. Let's bring our scout back. Let's tell him to visit this area where I can claim this region for some crones and wood. Oh, little virus message. So yeah, let's go ahead and get that. Alright, so things are going well, and basically you're going to want to just make sure, manage your resources, reprioritize people. So you can see I pulled them off of the fields. Actually, where did they go? Where are my farmers at? Let's get my farmer onto just normal food production. Yeah. So there you go. No one's in the fields. They're going to be doing just basic hunter gathering, which is pretty efficient. And yeah, we'll keep at it. And yeah, things are going well. And here you go. So I have someone assigned as a healer. Right now, you can select who you want to heal. So they're going to be healing Brand, my faction leader. Oh, looks like one of these units is going to be aggroing into my territory. And I'm just going to attack them. So usually if they aggro into a territory, they'll go ahead and attack your villagers. In that case, it looks like because I got my warrior here in time, I was able to redirect his assault onto me. So you want to be careful for that happening. And the reason that happened is, well, we have one of these NPC structures. In this case, it's a wolf's den. It'll continuously spawn wolves over time. And then the more wolves there are here, and especially in winter, it'll kind of overflow into nearby territories. So you want to be watchful of that. Keep warriors nearby or build defensive structures. So yeah, that's what's happening. Let's see. Yep, this is inefficient, I should say. If they're going to be collecting food, might as well do it in a tile that has a food silo. So let's go ahead and do that. And yeah, let's go ahead and keep building more structures. Looks like we need more wood here. We're just going to be having enough. So I'm going to have a house up here. The reason I'm going to do a house up here is because I'm eventually going to build a silo as well. Oh, cool. Got some stuff from that scout. And it looks like we already have our path to victory. So let's redirect this scout back to food production. And let's send this guy over there to build. Alright, what else can we do here? Well, winter is going to break soon, so what we'll probably do is organize a feast. It does cost some food, but that's not a huge deal because it adds bonuses to all your production, so quickly you'll recoup those losses, although it should be noted that every time you run a feast, it'll become more and more expensive. I do also want to note that in this initial tutorial here, our opening level... Oop, who's under attack? Okay, so automatically my people will defend. Let's move my guy here to help out. So yeah, this is a good example of combat. They're coming in. You can micro away from that. And then I'll attack. Another cool thing I like about Northgard is there's, you know, that automatically attacking of your villagers. In most games, they'll just stand there idly. But in this game, you know, the game will automatically tell them to attack. And another cool thing as well is if you tell them to be hunters, they'll whip out the bow, which allows them to have some range combat. You can actually tell people to be woodcutters if you want, and they'll have axes, which gives them a little bit better attack. So there's lots of little things you could do to improve your guys. But the official way to do it is going to be to have a training camp. So yeah, let's build a training camp in this territory, and that'll allow us to start to get some warriors. Let's get you here. Let's get these two people on farms. And now that everyone's going to be doing that, let's go ahead and organize a feast. So right now we're plus 20, plus 7, plus 2, plus 31, plus 11, plus 4. So the feast will last quite some time, and yeah, get lots of bonuses there. So we're going to be raking in the dough and the resources. So things are going well. Let's go ahead and build a Hall of Scalds as well. That's just another structure that I can build. And essentially what it does is you can assign people to it, and they'll sing the tales of your clan and basically improve your fame and happiness. Fame is another resource as well in the game. There's a lot of resources here that aren't visible. There's like stone, there's iron, or I can't remember if it's iron or ore, there's lore that you can collect, there's tech trees, etc. So this is kind of a training wheels version of the campaign, of the main game. But it's a good place to start. So now I have two people in my warband, and yeah, now that we have a little bit of a warband, you can see here, let me grab another villager. They can't become a warband because I've maxed out on my warband, so in order to grow the warband, I would probably have to build another training camp. So let's just go ahead and do that, just so I can show you it. And then my Scald is being very useful here. He's going to be healing up my villagers, which is going to get them back up to peak production, because right now he's not producing as well as he could. And yeah, and again, in a competitive multiplayer sense, I wouldn't have people idly being warriors and not doing anything. This is very a temporary measure. Putting people as warriors obviously means they're not producing, so that's inefficient. So you want to be a little bit more careful. If you're going to create warriors, you want to engage them immediately. But again, training wheels for this campaign. It's continuously just put people over into the food producing territory, and things are looking good. This Scald is all done, so let's put him on, let's get him in here, turn him into a regular villager, and then let's have him build this Hall of Scalds, and then he'll become our Scald and keep the happiness going. Alright, things are looking good, so looks like we have these guys here. Let's put two people into my warband, and now we have a pretty... Oh, let's get him over there. Let's turn on rally enabling. And now we have a pretty big warband. And with that, let's go ahead. Oh, looks like he's coming into my territory. Let's mess him up. And now let's go ahead and mess them up. So there's not too much of the combat. People will auto-engage, but what you want to do is just be a little bit efficient. So usually you want to click attack orders on, you know, the same unit, just get them off the battlefield, and then you can micro units away. You know, if he's about to die, bring him back into my territory and he's safe. Little things like that you can do. But yeah, let's go ahead and colonize this region. It looks like I don't really need these warriors for anything else, so I'm going to go ahead and send a couple of them back and repurpose them. Send them back home. And the Scald is almost done, because now I'm at 0 happiness, so no, you know, once this villager is out, I'm going to have no more villager production, but I can put the happiness back up by, well, making him a Scald. So there you go. So things are looking good. Looks like I'll probably need a healer because some of my guys are injured from that fight. Let's go ahead and do that. And yeah, things are looking good. I'm healing up my warriors. We have this territory. Let's go ahead and colonize the next one over. And then that'll allow us to finally build that dock and finish the objectives for this first level. Let's go ahead and grab a dude and just tell him to start marching. And let's get the longship. Another thing about building structures, it doesn't really matter where you put it. So for instance, as we talked about, I could build a woodcutter's lodge in a place that benefits me. So here, because it had the forest bonus, but I could essentially build one here. I could build one anywhere. It's all about just being more efficient. Same thing goes within a territory. It doesn't really matter if I'm closer to the wood or not. Building production is building production. It just goes into the queue and it adds to it. Doesn't matter how efficient it is. The only real caveat to that is when you place a food silo, people will gravitate here in their animations, and so they'll be dropping off food. Again, as we discussed, while he's idly walking, he's still producing the same amount of food, but it just means that their unit models are going to gravitate over here. And the only reason you might want to do that is that if you have, a threat like wolves or enemy warriors might be coming into the territory, well, because you guys are gravitating to this area, it means that the enemy has a long time to travel to get to them, and it gives you a time to, grab your warband and tell them to get there in time. That's the only real thing with those, the food silos and building placement. Besides that, really doesn't matter. So it looks like we're going to be building this longship dock, and with that, we'll trigger the victory conditions here. Sweet. So at last, thanks to your efforts, our clan can now put to sea. So they're going to give us, I presume, a little rousing speech. Anchors aweigh, proud Vikings are ready to sail for Northgard. So that's it for the first level. Relatively straightforward. Your end is drawing near Hagen, so they're going to go ahead and go to Northgard and get their vengeance. So yeah, you've claimed victory. So I hope this kind of training wheels experience has showed you what Northgard is all about. Things do get a little bit more intricate when you're going to be playing, multiplayer battles or custom battles, etc. But overall, I really like the game, and I'll be showing you some more gameplay from some multiplayer battles that I had back in early access. The game hasn't changed too much, so I'll be able to share that with you. And then we'll go ahead and continue the campaign if you guys did enjoy this video. So yeah, that's it for this opening salvo. And yeah, let me know if you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more. See you in the next one, and peace out.